Welcome to Culture Screen, where we analyze culture. In this episode, we are summarizing the 9th episode from Season 4 of the Sopranos series titled Whoever Did This. The episode first aired on November 10th, 2002. In the beginning, we catch up with Uncle Junior's current RICO case. The reporters pursue Junior outside of the courtroom. He slips down the courtroom steps after becoming sidetracked by a lovely female reporter and runs into a microphone. When he is brought to a hospital, the staff there decides to have him stay longer because of his behavior and suspected symptoms of dementia. Junior admits to Tony in private that he is acting this way to prolong his hospital stay because he prefers it over house imprisonment. Tony has the impression that Junior might take advantage of competency hearings using this same strategy, possibly leading to a mistrial. Tony instructs Junior on how to convincingly fake dementia in interviews after consulting with Harold Melvoin, Junior's attorney. As we catch up with Ralph Cifaretto, he realizes that it was Paulie Walnuts all along who told Johnny Sack about the genie joke that nearly got him killed because little Paulie, Paulie's nephew, was present at the gathering when he told the joke, and little Paulie frequently visited Paulie while he was in prison. As retaliation for this, Ralph calls up Paulie's mother, Nucci, at her Green Grove nursing home apartment. Ralph pretends that Paulie was detained for sexually abusing a Cub Scout in Pennsylvania. Ralph further adds that Paulie was also caught carrying a gerbil in his rear end. Ralph and his group start giggling as Ralph continues to humiliate Paulie. Later on, with a bow and arrow and without any adult supervision, Ralph's son Justin and his friend are role-playing a Lord of the Rings scene. In the midst of the reenactment, one of the arrows cuts through Justin's chest. He sustains critical injuries, and Ralph rushes his unconscious son to the hospital. While there, Ralph and his ex-wife get into a heated argument, and Ralph ends up lashing out at Justin's friend, requiring Tony to hold him back while he sobs. This accident involving Ralph's son Justin also negatively affects the rest of the Soprano family and the DeMeo crew. Ralph decides to pay for the highest level of therapy he can afford, continuing to earn enormous sums of money. As it becomes evident that Justin would be crippled and needs years of physical therapy, Ralph, who is typically rude and belligerent, becomes more reserved and even appears to be turning over a new leaf. He makes amends with Rosalie April, his ex-girlfriend, and apologizes for not being there for her when her son passed away. He even gets down on one knee and proposes to her, but she declines. Ralph seeks spiritual direction from Father Intentola when he visits. He prays with Father Intentola and then decides to write a list of his misdeeds, hoping that he can be absolved of his sins. As Ralph visits Tony's office to deliver his cut, Ralph begins to cry in front of Tony. This of course makes Tony uncomfortable, and Tony shows Ralph a bit of remorse. Tony, being the opportunist he is of course, also takes this opportunity to confess to Ralph that he is now seeing his former guma, Valentina. Ralph is in so much pain he does not seem to mind this infraction by Tony at all. We see the Soprano family and the DeMeo crew members speculate as to how genuine Ralph's newfound morality actually is. The crew members are sympathetic to Ralph's pain and suffering, but Paulie does not buy it. Paulie is still angry and upset at Ralph over the prank call he placed on his mother. Paulie insists that Ralph has not changed, and that Ralph is still the same immoral man, and his show of emotion is just a facade. Carmela, on the other hand, believes that Ralph's display of emotions may in fact be genuine. Tony does not know who to believe and remains undecided. Remember, I am summarizing the entire series, so subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. I will be reviewing other TV shows and movies as well, so let me know what you would like me to summarize in the future in the comments section below. Doing these two things helps my channel out tremendously. I thank you for your support. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. As we head back to the racetrack, the workers at Pyomai's stables called Tony to tell him that several horses, including Pyomai, perished in an unexpected fire. Pyomai's body can be seen when Tony goes to visit the destroyed stables. When questioned about the cause of the fire, the owner insists that the cause of the fire was electrical, but Tony investigates the scene suspiciously when the stable owner mentions the horse insurance settlement. In order to personally break the news to Ralph, Tony immediately pays him a surprise visit at his home. Ralph is surprised at the news from Tony, and Tony presses Ralph for details while also accusing Ralph that he believes it was Ralph who set the fire in order to take out Pyomai. Ralph rejects having anything to do with the fire, but as Tony accuses him, the argument worsens until Tony ultimately punches Ralph after he brings up Tony being overweight. Ralph hurts Tony and ends up squirting Raid in his face as they are violently struggling. But Tony eventually forces Ralph to the ground and tells Ralph that she was an innocent creature. Then he asks Ralph, "What did she ever do to you?" After a while, Tony finally finishes Ralph off by grabbing him by the throat and choking him. To assist with disposing of Ralph's body, Tony calls Christopher just after he has been using drugs. Christopher receives the call from Tony, and he arrives late as always to Tony yet again. Christopher, who is still intoxicated, is astonished and confused to discover Ralph in this predicament. Before they begin to clean up the damage left by Tony, Tony notices Christopher is in fact under the influence, and he reprimands him. Christopher starts by grabbing Ralph by the hair, and he ends up pulling off his wig. This is the first time they learn Ralph was in fact bald. Tony gets a few bags to hold the pieces of Ralph's corpse while Christopher dismembers the victim. They wait until dusk to avoid leaving Ralph's house in the open with obtrusively enormous luggage. As they wait while watching television, Tony consoles Chris on his impending marriage and potential fatherhood, advising him to take the plunge without second guessing it. Tony also warns Chris that he must stop using heroin. As darkness sets in, they make their way to Mikey Palmice's father's farm. Here they struggle to use a shovel to dig through the ground because it is frozen. Tony tells Christopher to start up an excavator he spots nearby that would allow them to break into the ground through the ice. But Chris struggles to hotwire the vehicle. Tony takes matters into his own hands, of course, and completes the task himself. They end up excavating a tiny hole where Chris throws Ralph's head after placing it in a bowling ball bag. The remainder of Ralph's body is then thrown off a cliff into the bay. As Chris and Tony head back to the Bada Bing, Christopher warns Tony that the killing of a made man will be awful news, but Christopher declines to accuse Tony of murdering Ralph. Tony tells Christopher that he shouldn't worry about this because they are the only ones who are aware of Ralph's passing. In another scene, the FBI is seen watching Junior as he leaves his house the following morning. Oddly enough, Junior asks his neighbor if they have some ice cream while wearing his pajamas. The FBI agents assume that Junior is faking this entire scenario as a way of faking a mental illness. When Junior's caregiver heads over to find Junior, he says he came outside to get the newspaper. He stands motionless, staring ahead with a blank expression, showing some signs of dementia when alone. While this is going on, Tony wakes up at the Bada Bing. Before leaving the room and stepping into the light, he spots a picture of Tracy, the young woman killed by Ralph. That was episode number 48, titled Whoever Did This. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. If you enjoyed this summary, consider clicking like. It goes a long way toward helping me grow this channel. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I'll see you on the next one.
And who was the president before George Bush?
John Kennedy.
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.